In 1987, Dean Martin lost his son in a tragic plane crash.
King of
From
Cool
that day
was
on,
never the same.
the
He
King of
retreated from
Cool
public
was
life,
never the
turned down
same.
million-dollar
He
offers,
retreated from
and
public
spent his
life,
final years in
turned down
quiet solitude. But when he died on Christmas Day, 1995, he left behind something extraordinary, a fortune that would change his family's lives forever. This is the story of how a poor Italian immigrant's son built an empire and the emotional legacy that came with it. Dean Martin, born on June 7th, 1917 in Steubenville, Ohio. His original name was Dino Palcredi, and his parents were Italian immigrants trying to make a better life in America. As a young boy, Dino only spoke Italian, not English. When he started school at age 5, this became a big problem. The other kids teased him for his broken English, and his Italian name, Dino, felt like an outsider and had to find ways to protect himself. That's when he learned to use humor. He discovered that making people laugh could turn their teasing into friendship. This skill would later help him win over audiences around the world. By the time he was a teenager, he found a way to escape his struggles by playing the drums that gave him joy and set the stage for his love of performing. At 16, Dino dropped out of school. He felt he didn't need formal education and decided to work instead. His first jobs were tough. He worked in a steel mill where the work was hot, dirty, and exhausting. He also tried boxing, calling himself Kid Crochet. He fought 12 matches and later joked he only won one of them. Boxing left him with scars, broken neck, and a crooked nose, but it also taught him resilience. Dino wasn't afraid to take risks during Prohibition. He bootlegged liquor, smuggling alcohol when it was illegal. He also worked as a blackjack dealer in secret gambling clubs. These jobs introduced him to the nightlife and the people who lived on the edge, giving him a toughness and charm that stayed with him forever. By the early 1940s, Dino started singing in nightclubs. He called himself Dino Martini. Inspired by famous opera singer, his smooth, relaxed singing style caught people's attention. A band leader named Sammy Watkins noticed him and suggested he change his name to Dean Martin. This marked the start of a new chapter in his life. Not everything came easy. When Dean performed at a fancy New York club, he completely flopped. It was embarrassing, but he didn't give up. He kept singing, learning, and improving. During this time, he met a young comedian named Jerry Lewis. In 1945, Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis met for the first time at the Glass Hat Club in New York City. At that time, Martin was already a popular nightclub singer known for his smooth voice and charming style. Jerry Lewis, on the other hand, was just starting out as a comedian and struggling to find his place. Their first meeting happened by chance. During one of Martin's performances, Lewis, in his usual playful way, began interrupting Martin's act with silly jokes and wild antics. At first, it seemed like it might ruin the show, but something unexpected happened. The audience loved it. They laughed so much that both men realized they had stumbled onto something special. King of Cool was never the same. He retreated from public life, turned down million-dollar offers, and spent his final years in quiet solitude. But when he died on Christmas Day, 1995, he left behind something extraordinary, a fortune that would change his family's lives forever. This is the story of how a poor Italian immigrant's son built an empire and the emotional legacy that came with it. Dean Martin, born on June 7th, 1917 in Steubenville, Ohio. His original name was Dino Palcredi, and his parents were Italian immigrants trying to make a better life in America. As a young boy, Dino only spoke Italian, not English. When he started school at age 5, this became a big problem. The other kids teased him for his broken English, and his Italian name, Dino, felt like an outsider and had to find ways to protect himself. That's when he learned to use humor. He discovered that making people laugh could turn their teasing into friendship. This skill would later help him win over audiences around the world. By the time he was a teenager, he found a way to escape his struggles by playing the drums that gave him joy and set the stage for his love of performing. At 16, Dino dropped out of school. He felt he didn't need formal education and decided to work instead. His first jobs were tough. He worked in a steel mill where the work was hot, dirty, and exhausting. He also tried boxing, calling himself Kid Crochet. He fought 12 matches and later joked he only won one of them. Boxing left him with scars, broken neck, and a crooked nose, but it also taught him resilience. Dino wasn't afraid to take risks during Prohibition. He bootlegged liquor, smuggling alcohol when it was illegal. He also worked as a blackjack dealer in secret gambling clubs. These jobs introduced him to the nightlife and the people who lived on the edge, giving him a toughness and charm that stayed with him forever. By the early 1940s, Dino started singing in nightclubs. He called himself Dino Martini. Inspired by famous opera singer, his smooth, relaxed singing style caught people's attention. A band leader named Sammy Watkins noticed him and suggested he change his name to Dean Martin. This marked the start of a new chapter in his life. Not everything came easy. When Dean performed at a fancy New York club, he completely flopped. It was embarrassing. But he didn't give up. He kept singing, learning, and improving. During this time, he met a young comedian named Jerry Lewis. In 1945, Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis met for the first time at the Glass Hat Club in New York City. At that time, Martin was already a popular nightclub singer known for his smooth voice and charming style. Jerry Lewis, on the other hand, was just starting out as a comedian and struggling to find his place. Their first meeting happened by chance. During one of Martin's performances, Lewis, in his usual playful way, began interrupting Martin's act with silly jokes and wild antics. At first, it seemed like it might ruin the show, but something unexpected happened. The audience loved it. They laughed so much that both men realized they had stumbled onto something special. After that night, they started performing together in form at different clubs in New York. The pairing of Martin's cool, relaxed singing with Lewis's over-the-top humor was fresh and exciting. Audiences couldn't get enough of their mix of music and comedy. Their big break as a duo came on July 25th, 1946 at the 500 Club in Atlantic City. They were originally booked as separate acts, but when another performer canceled, they decided to team up. That night, Lewis dressed as a busboy and crashed Martin's set, pretending to clean tables, dropping dishes, and making ridiculous jokes. The chaos was hilarious. Martin played along, and their act turned into a perfect mix of music and comedy. The audience went wild, and even the club owner, who had been nervous about the idea, admitted they were a hit. That performance put them on the map. Soon, they were performing in some of the biggest clubs in the country, like New York's Copacabana. Their act kept evolving with Martin's smooth songs and Lewis's unpredictable humor blending perfectly. They didn't rely on a strict script, which made every show feel fresh and fun. Audiences couldn't get enough of their energy and originality. By 1949, they were so popular that NBC offered them their own radio show, The Martin and Lewis Show. It became one of the most listened-to programs in America, bringing their unique humor into people's homes. As their fame grew, Hollywood noticed them. Their first movie, My Friend Irma, came out in 1949. Martin played a charming singer, while Lewis brought his usual silly antics to the role of his sidekick. Even though they weren't the main stars of the film, audiences loved them. Their chemistry on screen was just as strong as it was on stage. The success of the movie made them Hollywood stars. Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis changed television forever when they started the Colgate Comedy Hour from 1950 to 1955. Their teamwork and sense of humor were unlike anything people had seen before. They didn't just stick to the script, they joked, ad-libbed, and made every performance feel alive and unpredictable. This made their show a huge hit. Their first show on September 17th, 1950 was a big deal. It was filmed at the Park Theater in New York City and had a massive budget of $3 million, about $36 million today. The network believed in their talent, and it paid off. Their episodes had the highest ratings and even beat other famous stars like Eddie Cantor. What made Martin and Lewis special was how they broke the rules of TV at the time. They didn't just follow the plan, they made up jokes on the spot. Audiences loved it. In one episode, Lewis interrupted Martin's singing by shouting, "Who ordered the steak?" It wasn't planned, but everyone laughed, and the moment became legendary. Their shows were a mix of music, comedy, and silly sketches that made fun of movies and TV. Martin's smooth singing balanced perfectly with Lewis's crazy antics, creating a style of entertainment that inspired shows like Saturday Night Live years later. Their success on TV led them straight to Hollywood. Between 1949 and 1956, they made 16 movies, many of which were huge hits. Their first starring role was in At War with the Army. In 1950, the film only cost $560,000 to make, but earned over $3.3 million, proving how much people loved them. Another big success was The Stooge in 1952. This movie was special because it felt personal. It was about a struggling singer played by Martin whose career takes off after teaming up with a goofy partner played by Lewis. It made $5.5 million and showed how well they could combine comedy with heartfelt moments. By 1951, they were the most popular entertainers in the world that year. They earned $1 million, an amount equal to more than $123 million today. Their money came from everywhere: nightclubs, movies, and TV. They made $25,000 a week performing live, and some of their TV episodes paid them as much as $100,000. What made their rise so amazing was how fast it happened. In just 5 years. They went from being unknown to being the biggest stars in the world. Part of their success came from their smart business decisions. They made sure they had control over their careers, like sharing profit from their movies and having the power to approve scripts. The breaking point came in 1956 during the planning of The Delicate Delinquent. Dean was supposed to play a policeman, but refused, saying, "Start looking, boy." It was clear he had had enough of playing second fiddle. The two were also very different as people. Jerry was a perfectionist, rehearsing endlessly and controlling every detail, while Dean was relaxed and didn't take things as seriously. Dean once joked, "I've got it made. I don't have to work anymore. I've got Jerry Lewis." But their differences caused tension on the Colgate Comedy Hour. Jerry insisted on long rehearsals, but Dean would leave early to play golf. During one moment, Jerry shouted, "You're nothing but a goddamn no talent bum." The rift between them only grew, and by the time they filmed Hollywood or Bust, they barely spoke. Dean even referred to Jerry as the monkey, showing how little respect he had left for him. Jerry's growing control over their act didn't help. During Three Ring Circus, Jerry told a producer, "You'd better let me go with him alone. I can get more out of the." Moments like this made Dean feel pushed aside. Tensions peaked when both refused to show up on the first day of filming. Dean hated how the script focused on Jerry, a clear sign of how far apart they had drifted. The public didn't make things easier. Jerry got most of the praise, while Dean was often overlooked. One critic claimed Jerry could succeed with any straight man, which hurt Dean deeply. During Three Ring Circus, a group of kids asked Dean, "Hey, Mister, where's Jerry Lewis?" Witnesses said the look on Dean's face that day was heartbreaking. Things got worse during the promotion of Living It Up in 1954. Photo in Look magazine cropped Dean out entirely, leaving only Jerry. It felt like proof to Dean that he was being pushed aside at press events. Reporters focused almost entirely on Jerry. During one interview, a frustrated Dean snapped, "Don't mind me. I'm just a guy who sings." Even their chemistry began to fade. At a photo shoot on July 18th, 1954, they barely spoke, and Dean refused to look at Jerry. The photos showed them smiling, but it was all for show. Their partnership was crumbling. By early 1955, during the filming of Artists and Models, tensions exploded. On February 14th, Jerry insisted on retakes, frustrating the crew and Dean. During a break, Jerry approached Dean to discuss changes, and Dean snapped in front of everyone. He yelled, "You can talk about love all you want, you're nothing but a dollar sign." Jerry, usually quick with comebacks, was silent. He walked away, leaving everyone stunned. It was clear their partnership was broken. By the time they started Hollywood or Bust in 1956, their relationship was beyond repair. On April 3rd, the first day of filming, they didn't talk unless they had a director. Frank Tashlin described the atmosphere as Arctic. The crew even filmed some scenes separately to keep them apart. In one moment, on May 2nd, Jerry made a joke about Dean's singing, and Dean responded with a cold glare. Co-star Pat Crowley broke down in tears, overwhelmed by the tension. Their final performance came on July 25th, 1956, at the Copacabana in New York, exactly 10 years after their debut as a duo. The room was packed with stars like Frank Sinatra and Humphrey Bogart. The audience gave them thunderous applause as they performed classic routines, including the Awu Caveman sketch, and Dean sang "That's Amore." But the magic wasn't the same. Their banter felt forced, and their comedy lacked its old spark. The most emotional moment came when they performed their final duet, Partners, as they sang "You and Me will be the greatest partners, buddies and pals." Many in the audience were moved to tears. The show ended with a standing ovation that lasted 5 minutes. When Dean Martin split from Jerry Lewis in 1956, people thought his career might be over, but instead of fading away, he surprised everyone by becoming a huge star on his own. It wasn't easy at first. Rock and roll was taking over, and many crooners were struggling to stay relevant. Martin didn't try to change who he was. He leaned into his smooth, easygoing style, while also trying out serious acting roles. His first movie without Lewis, 10,000 Bedrooms, in 1957, didn't do well, but it was the start of something bigger. Things turned around for Martin in 1958 when he starred in The Young Lions, a war movie with Marlon Brando and Montgomery Clift. This was a big moment for him. It showed he could handle serious roles, not just comedy. Critics loved his performance, and it helped him rebuild his reputation as an actor. That same year, he worked with Frank Sinatra in Some Came Running, proving he was more than just a funny guy. He was a real movie star. At the same time Martin's music career was booming, he signed with Capitol Records and released hit after hit. One of his most famous songs, Volare, came out in 1958 and became a huge success. It climbed the charts in the US and the UK and made him a favorite with fans all over the world. Then in 1964, he released Everybody Loves Somebody, a song that became his biggest hit. It even knocked the Beatles off the top of the charts, showing that Martin still had what it took to be a superstar. Dean Martin's life changed forever when he joined the Rat Pack in the late 1950s. This group of entertainers, Frank Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr., Joey Bishop, and Peter Lawford, weren't just performers, they were the kings of Las Vegas and the face of Hollywood glamour. Martin had already made a name for himself as a singer and actor after his comedy duo with Jerry Lewis, but being part of the Rat Pack took his fame to a whole new level. The Rat Pack shows at the Sands Hotel were legendary. They didn't just sing, they joked, teased each other, and made the audience feel like they were part of something special. Martin's smooth voice and laid-back charm were a perfect fit. Songs like That's Amore and Ain't That a Kick in the Head became his signature hits, and his cool, relaxed style won over everyone. The group's bond was real, but it wasn't always perfect. Martin and Sinatra, for example, were great friends, but their strong personalities sometimes clashed. Still, their chemistry on stage made every performance unforgettable. While he was wowing audiences on stage, Martin was also making waves in Hollywood. In Ocean's 11 in 1960, he played Jimmy Foster, part of a group planning a daring casino heist. The film, which starred the entire Rat Pack, became a classic and inspired the modern remakes with George Clooney and Brad Pitt later. In Robin and the Seven Hoods in 1964, Martin teamed up with Sinatra and Bing Crosby in a fun twist on the Robin Hood story set in Prohibition-era Chicago. He didn't just act in these films, he sang too, showing off the same charm that made him a star in Vegas. Martin's cool, effortless style made him a Las Vegas icon. People loved how he'd sip a drink on stage while singing hits like Everybody Loves Somebody, which even knocked the Beatles off the charts in 1964. He made every show feel spontaneous, joking with the audience and never taking himself too seriously. His performances at the Sands Hotel drew big crowd from celebrities to politicians, all eager to see the king of cool in action. Dean Martin became a star on television with The Dean Martin Show, which aired from 1965 to 1974. Over 9 years, it became one of the most popular shows on NBC, running for 264 episodes. The show was a mix of comedy, music, and celebrity guests, and what made it so special was Martin himself. He had a laid-back style, always looking cool and relaxed, often holding a drink he joked was apple juice. People loved him because he seemed like someone who didn't take life too seriously. On the show, Martin didn't just sing hits like Everybody Loves Somebody and That's Amore. He also showed off his funny side. There were scripted jokes, but he loved to improvise, making each episode feel fresh and unpredictable. Big stars like Frank Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr., and Orson Welles were regular guests, and their playful banter with Martin made viewers feel like they were part of a private Hollywood party. The show became so big that Martin won a Golden Globe in 1966 to 67 for his performance, proving just how much people loved his easygoing charm. But as time went on, the show's ratings started to slip. Instead of giving up, the producers came up with a brilliant idea: Dean Martin's Celebrity Roast. This new format featured Martin and a group of celebrities poking fun at one famous person in a friendly, lighthearted way. The first roast aired in 1974, honoring Bob Hope. It was such a hit that the roast became a regular event even after the main show ended. Martin was the perfect host for these roasts. He made everyone laugh with his sharp, witty jokes while keeping the mood fun and relaxed. The roasts featured actors, musicians, and even politicians, and they gave people a chance to see celebrities joking with and about each other in ways they couldn't anywhere else. The humor was edgy but never mean-spirited, and viewers loved seeing stars show their playful sides. Dean Martin's personal life was as interesting as his career. He was married 3 times and had 8 children. His first wife, Betty McDonald, married him in 1941. They had 4 children: Craig, Claudia Gale, and Diana. Their marriage ended in 1949, just as Dean was becoming famous. Even after the divorce, Dean stayed close to his children, making time for them despite his busy life. Later in 1949, Dean married Jean Beeger. This marriage lasted 24 years and felt more stable than his first. They had 3 children together: Dean, Paul, Richie, and Gina. Even though Dean and Jean divorced in 1973, they stayed friends. They worked together to raise their kids and supported each other during tough times. Dean's third marriage in 1973 was to Catherine Hahn. Catherine was younger and worked as a receptionist when they met. Dean adopted her daughter Sasha and treated her like his own child. However, their marriage didn't last long, and they divorced in 1976. Despite the breakup, Dean remained a caring father to Sasha. Through all these changes, Dean's role as a father stayed constant. He had 8 children, and no matter how busy or famous he became, he always tried to be there for them. His daughter Deanna often talks about her father's love for family. She remembers having dinner together and seeing how much he cared. Growing up, she was surrounded by big Hollywood stars like Frank Sinatra and Marilyn Monroe, but what stood out the most was Dean's warmth and humor as a dad. Dean made sure all his kids felt connected, even though they came from different marriages. His son Richie once said that their father brought the family together and made them feel like one. Sasha, his adopted daughter, was treated the same as everyone else. This shows how much Dean valued family, no matter how complicated his life was. Dean also had a charm that attracted many women, leading to famous romances with stars like Angie Dickinson and Dinah Shore. These relationships often made headlines and added to his image as the king of cool, but behind the public persona, he was a man who cared deeply about his children.